Shirley Robbins is one of the hundreds of assembly workers putting together ATMs, cash registers, and video rental machines at this NCR plant in Columbus, Georgia, the only plant serving NCR's North American customers. She was one of the lucky ones when NCR hired 120 people to kickstart production here in 2009.
I think there was like maybe over 1,600 people down there for this job. So I went down and applied for it, and I was called.
An abundant workforce made NCR's decision to open this plant in the U.S. rather than overseas an easy one. And now Made in the USA is paying off for NCR, and CEOs are taking notice.
Based on the number of calls I received today from CEOs around the United States and from my own personal experience, it was absolutely the right thing to do.
NCR is an early mover in a trend so new that experts can't agree whether to call it onshoring, reshoring, or backshoring. And there are still no government agencies that track it, making this a wild card in the economic recovery. Skeptics question just how substantial the move will be and how many jobs will be created. Even onshoring proponents agree the U.S. will never fully replace the 2 million manufacturing jobs lost in the last recession, thanks to productivity and innovation. But in the face of surging energy prices, rising labor costs in places like China, and long supply chains, the onshoring trend is gaining traction. Companies ranging from Ford to Frisbee maker Wham-O have already expanded production here in the States, and more are considering the move. An exclusive survey of small to mid-sized companies by MFG.com for Reuters found that 40% with plants outside the country are considering moving production back to the U.S. in the next year. Of the total companies surveyed, 15% have already made the move in the last 2 years.
The U.S. equation is in much better shape today than it's been in many, many years. So I think when it comes down to weighing all of the challenges of a global supply chain, I think that it's going to be very suggestive for more work being put here in the U.S.
Actually, I think it is a sea change. These trends tend to last for decades, not for years. And we saw decades of the offshoring trend, and now that wages have narrowed and the risks associated with offshoring have been revealed, you're going to see more onshoring as people really try to strategically manage more certainty. We're already starting to see it now. We're going to see tens of thousands over the next year, hundreds of thousands over the next 5 years.
In NCR's case, the company wanted to get its products to the marketplace faster and not lose time shipping goods from China. That's exactly what prompted Pressair, a small manufacturing company just north of New York City, to decide to end most overseas production of its switches by this fall. Pressair was facing long lead times from product order to delivery, tying up capital needed for expansion. By moving back to the U.S. from Asia, Pressair is able to cut that delivery time by at least a third. The trade-off? Costs jump 8 to 10%, but only in the short term.
We think that's going to lessen over time and perhaps completely evaporate.
Labor costs on the world's factory floor, China, are part of the changing equation in the manufacturing industry. A recent survey by Boston Consulting Group says the wage differential in China is narrowing and sees onshoring gaining steam within 4 years. And while onshoring may never replace all the jobs lost in the last economic downturn, experts say don't dismiss the multiplier effect of manufacturing jobs created in the U.S.
For every manufacturing job, it creates 7, 8 downstream jobs, from logistics to retail to customer service.
NCR's assembly worker Shirley Robbins, for instance, thought she'd never find a job in manufacturing.
So many people who need a job that thought that manufacturing was going to be history. And NCR proved that no, we're coming here and we're going to grow in Columbus.
In fact, as part of NCR's expansion, the company is starting a second production shift in July and is committed to hiring 870 people in this plant. I'm Rhonda Schaffler. This is Reuters.